Hello, today we are going to install two popular rolling release Linux operating systems at the same time, side by side. So we're going to install Arch Linux and openSUSE Tumbleweed. Rolling release Linux operating systems have remote package repositories. From time to time, you just keep installing the latest and greatest package versions from the remote repositories. Your operating system will always be up to date. For these operating systems take the latest source code release tarballs from various projects. Once they're shipped by those projects, such as KDE Frameworks 6.2 from the 10th of March. These are tarballs. And look like this. And package all of these tarballs, source code tarballs, as native packages for that operating system. So for openSUSE Tumbleweed, that's RPMs, and for Arch Linux, that's package build. Okay, let's look at a list of rolling release Linux operating systems that are some are based on Arch Linux, so from the Arch Linux operating system family of Linux operating systems. And then there's other operating systems that have been traditionally rolling, such as Gen2, Void. There's also KDE Neon, which is contains the latest Ubuntu long-term support base. And on top of that, it's layered the latest release of Qt framework and the latest release of source code releases from the KDE community. Okay, so let's start with Arch Linux. Let's download the latest ISO installer. So the primary way of downloading the ISO installer file for Arch Linux is via BitTorrent, but you can also download it via HTTP from one of the mirrors in this list. And then you should check the signature, the PGP signature. Let's see if we can download like this. No, so we must go through the mirrors. Okay, so let's pick a random one, for instance from Canada. And we're going for the largest file. That's 1 gigabyte. ISO x86-64, recent from 1st of May 2024. And then there's probably a symlink of the same size, but without a version. This file. Let's go with this one. Okay, while this downloads, let's look at the speed. 5 megabytes per second, not that bad. Let's install openSUSE Tumbleweed. opensuse.org. Tumbleweed. Install. Download. Offline image. Or desktops. This one. Okay. We'll be back once the download finishes. So the two ISO files finished installing. Let's create virtual machines. We're using the virtualization software Word Manager. File, new virtual machine. Browse. and we want the Arch Linux. I have selected Arch Linux as the template. The template that we want here is a Linux operating system that is fairly recent, from the last 2 years, that supports Word hardware and USB tablets, which is all of them in the last 2 years. Let's make the RAM size 8 and CPU cores 6. Hard disks 100 gigabytes. Arch Linux. The only thing that usually needs to be tweaked, on my machine at least, is the CPU sockets. The rest of the settings remain as they are, they're correct. Begin installation. And let's create the virtual machine for openSUSE Tumbleweed also. So it's going to boot in 3 seconds in the Arch Linux install medium. Okay, so 8 gigabytes of RAM, 6 vCPUs, 100 gigabytes of storage, openSUSE Tumbleweed, and the same unique change that needs to be made. Begin installation. Okay, let's see if we can have them side by side. We want to install. So Arch Linux finished booting in the live CD mode in the installer. The openSUSE Tumbleweed virtual machine is still booting from the ISO. openSUSE Tumbleweed will have a graphical user interface installer, a wizard, whereas Arch Linux has 2 ways of installing, the classical way and the one with the text user interface, Arch install installer. Okay. We're almost at the point where we need to provide input to the openSUSE Tumbleweed installer. Let's start the Arch installer. We're logged on as the user root in Arch. Okay, in openSUSE it starts with EULA, language English US, keyboard layout English US. So let's go next. In here, in the Arch installer, the keyboard and translation language is English. Then we want a mirror. From the United States. Where is that? Slash to search. Tab to select. back. Bootloader grub, swap, hostname Arch Linux, root password user account. Let's create a user account. Add a user. Password. Should the administrator be a super user sudo? Yes. Confirm and exit. Let's look a bit at the YAST, yet another setup tool too. The installer and control panel in openSUSE. Activate online repositories. Okay. Main OSS, main non-OSS, and then there's sources for RPMs, so probably SRPMs, and debug symbols. So the default settings in here look okay. Next. So it's adding 3 package repositories for RPMs. Okay. We'll see if we can set the 2 operating systems similarly. We'll try this time GNOME. So desktop with GNOME for openSUSE. And let's do the same thing for Arch. No audio server. Pipewire. Additional packages. What's this profile? Type. Desktop. Awesome. Budgie. GNOME KD LXQt. Let's go with GNOME. So tab key. Okay, how do we exit? So type desktop graphics driver all open source greeter GDM. And selected profile GNOME. Okay, looks okay. Back. Network configuration. Use network manager. Time zone UTC. No optional repositories. So we do not have a password for the user root because we have a user that's a sudoer, so we can use that. We have the bootloader, this configuration, best effort default partition layout. Okay, select one or more devices to use and configure virt.io block device 100 gigabytes tab. Okay, ext4. Would you like to create separate partitions for home? No. No disk encryption. Locales English US, correct, UTF-8. Additional package probably here we would want openSSH server if it's not already installed and Firefox. Network configuration. Looks okay. Install. So it's formatting the virtual hard disk. It's installing packages, created partitions. On openSUSE, we have selected JAWS Desktop with GNOME, and next. Let's see. So GPT not MBR partition scheme on the virtual hard disk. There's a partition slash with BTRFS and a partition with swap. Let's see if we can change some things in here. Partitioning scheme. No LVM, no disk encryption. Next. No BTRFS, but ext4. Separate home partition, no. Separate swap partition. I prefer swap files, but that's okay. We will not do suspend from the operating system. We can do suspend from here. We have the option to save the virtual machine, or we can create a snapshot. So no need to enlarge to RAM size for suspend. Looks okay. So GPT, which forces a partition for, I don't know, BIOS, UEFI, boot. Majority of space from 100 gigabytes, 98 gigabytes goes to slash partition for with ext4, 2 gigabytes swap. Seems okay. Next. Network time protocol. Eastern New York. Next. Create a user. No automatic login. Okay, so now we're at the summary before actually changing the hard disk. So grab to dev VDA. It writes to the, it will be able to boot straight from the virtual hard disk. GNOME Wayland X11 Up Armor. What is that? Okay, it will boot in graphical user interface mode by default. CPU mitigations, SSH service will be disabled. Let's have openSSH server by default. SSH port will be blocked. How do we disable the firewall? Firewall will be enabled, disable. It's a virtual machine. CPU mitigations, no firewall. SSH server will be enabled. DHCP, IP, network manager for managing network connectivity, network interface cards. Okay, seems okay. Let's actually start installing. Install. Okay, while that's working, let's see what the Arch Linux installer says. Would you like to have a final chance? We're still booted from the live ISO, live CD mode. You can connect to the virtual hard disk in root mode and do some final tweaks. No. And that's it. Installation finished without errors. We might reboot. How do we reboot? it found the grub bootloader. It is booting. Let's see that there's just one boot option. The CD-ROM, the ISO has been removed from the CD-ROM drive. Okay, and now we're in GDM, which is the GNOME desktop manager, and we'll be able from here to log into the GNOME shell using the user administrator that we have just created. We'll wait a bit until openSUSE finishes installing, and then we'll get the openSUSE Tumbleweed virtual machine to the same state, so into GDM, where I can log in as the user administrator. So it's still installing packages. I don't exactly know if it installs packages exclusively from the ISO or it also downloads updates from the package repositories that we have just configured. Okay, so we'll be back once the openSUSE Tumbleweed installer is further along. Okay, so the openSUSE Tumbleweed installer finally finished. Now it's rebooting the computer, the virtual machine. Let's see if it booted from the ISO. No ISO. So it has booted from the hard disk. Now we're at the same spot with the two operating systems. Left is Arch Linux, right is openSUSE Tumbleweed. In the GDM GNOME Desktop Manager, let's log in. Welcome to Arch Linux versus welcome to openSUSE Tumbleweed. And we're in the preview thing. Let's exit from the preview by clicking on one of the applications, on this one. Big tour. Show next startup. openSUSE Tumbleweed. This is not a wizard. It's just one page. Get software. What is this site? Key jumping cube. Okay, let's go through the more vanilla experience of GNOME that's available on Arch Linux with the first run wizard. Press the Windows key to open the overview. Workspaces are something that I do not use. Swipe up and down with 3 fingers to open the overview. Change between workspaces, and that's it. Great. Okay, so we have a close button, and that's it. We do not have a minimize button. Let's open the terminal. There's both console and terminal available. This is GNOME terminal. In Arch Linux, there's just console, GNOME console. the about box is different. Let's open the console also in openSUSE. Ooh, if I move the modal dialog about box, it also moves the main window. Interesting feature. So it's the latest and greatest Tumbleweed releases from the GTK project, from GNOME project, from related projects. They're built as binary packages, RPMs for openSUSE, Tumbleweed, and whatever Pacman uses, or Arch Linux. So the versions of the various software that's available in the Arch Linux package repositories and in openSUSE Tumbleweed package repositories should be fairly similar and very recent. That's the whole point of using a rolling release Linux operating system, that if you want to be on the latest version of GNOME Shell, for instance, you're just continuously updating all of the packages. You're asking using the package management tool, do we have newer versions of some packages? Yes, let's install all of those. And by doing this, each every couple of days or maybe each week, without even noticing, you will be always using the latest version of software in a short amount of time after the official source releases, tarballs are available from the various open source projects. Okay, in openSUSE we have this thing, a tilde, what's this? Whereas in here we do not have it in the header bar. Okay, let's see what other applications are available out of the box. Contacts, weather, clocks, maps. Calculator. Documents, settings, system monitor. Help. And that's about it. So the installation of Arch Linux is way more minimal. It doesn't contain the productivity software that's installed by default by openSUSE Tumbleweed, such as LibreOffice and GIMP and Eye of GNOME and the web browser Firefox. Instead, it has the Epiphany GNOME web browser. Okay. Let's install Firefox also on Arch Linux. Okay, so let's use the command line tools for installing software on both Linux operating systems. For Arch Linux, we're using the Pacman, the default command line package manager, and we're going to look a bit at its help. Okay, so I have opened the web browser that comes built-in, installed by default. So on openSUSE Tumbleweed, there's Mozilla Firefox that uses by default the search engine Google, and on Arch Linux that's GNOME Web, the web browser that's installed by default and uses the DuckDuckGo search engine by default. I've searched for Pacman. And I'm going to read the Rosetta page. Okay, and in here we can also see the command line for openSUSE. So it's zipper, and for Arch it's pacman. We can do the equivalent of apt search with pacman minus uppercase s, lowercase s, and with the zipper search we can install with pacman space minus uppercase s, then the name of the package, zipper installed and the name of the package, and then to update is pacman space minus s, uppercase s, and then y, which you should probably not use. You should probably use pacman space minus uppercase s, lowercase y, and u, which is similar to update, upgrade. And for zipper, that's zipper update. Okay, so let's search for Firefox. Let's see if middle paste middle click paste works. Firefox. Whoa. So it's just Firefox, the name of the package. And we install using this command line. So middle click paste, and then Firefox. I'm not the super user. Let's become. Enter a number. We want TTF font. There's no enough fonts. And we want Noto fonts, the GNOME, the Google fonts always. So that's option 2. Do I want to proceed? The default option is uppercase Y, which means yes, so I can press enter. Probably did not install enough Noto fonts. Should also install these, at least these. So let's do that. Alt backspace, middle click paste. We're going to lose this list. So let's put all 3 package names at the same time on the same command line. Yes, large packages. Okay, Firefox is pre-installed in here on the openSUSE Tumbleweed machine. And now Firefox should be available in the list of installed applications in here. Open a new private window. Bookmarks toolbar never show. And let's do the exact same search as in openSUSE. Okay, so it's using Google search engine by default. Look very similar to web browser applications. If we're looking just at this moment at the desktop, it's really hard to figure out which is Arch Linux and which is openSUSE Tumbleweed. There's more pixels between 14 and 4 in here because there's something happening with the time zone. We'll look at a single KDE application. Let's see how it looks like, and then that should be it. So KDE applications use the Qt framework, not the GTK framework. Let's just guess the name of the package. Should be Kate, the text editor. Do I want GStreamer or FFmpeg? Default one, I can press enter. Proceed with the installation. So it installs many Qt 6 framework packages, many KDE frameworks version 6, such as KAUTH, KCodex, KArchive, etc., KeyParts. And at the end, it will install the Kate graphical user interface application. Okay, let's do the same thing in here. Sudo zipper install Kate. In here we have more packages. So we have Qt 6, all of these libqt 6 RPM packages, all of these Qt 6 minus packages, all of these libkf6 RKD frameworks version 6 RPM packages. Looks okay. Default option is Y. I can press enter. Okay, while this is installing, let's start Kate and see how it looks like. The list of applications on the second page. Not really. Where is it? Doesn't seem to be in this list by default. But it is. This guy, Kate. So kwrite also comes into the same package in Arch Linux as the Kate graphical user interface application. So there's two editors coming from the same source code release tarball. One is called Kate, the other is called kwrite, and the source code tarball is just Kate. So one source code tarball, that's equivalent to just one package for Arch Linux, but for openSUSE, maybe they have split the kwrite and Kate applications in different RPM packages. So we have the same issues that we have in Fedora 40 workstation, which uses the same GNOME shell. In here there's a missing button, or not visible button, just 1 pixel high, because it's an icon only button and the icon is missing from the default icon theme in GNOME shell, which is called Adwaita. The same thing here for the fourth tool view button, this guy and this guy. And then missing icons for this button, this, and another icon only button with a broom icon. Most of the menu items should have icons in this column. This icon is actually built into KDE, that's why it appears in here. This icon is still part of the Adwaita icon theme. That's why it's being shown in here. And this other warning icon. All apps, and where is Kate? In here, the penultimate application. The exact same issues, missing icon here, 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 here. missing icon in icon only button, the broom, and missing icons in this tool view buttons 1, 2, and in most of the menu items. Also, this should be an icon with text underneath both this and this, so missing icons. These should also be icon with text below. We can see this in here. It's text alongside icons, not below, but to the right of the icons. But then the icons are missing for the same reason. Okay, so in order to fix this issue, you want to install the default KD icon theme, which is called Breeze. So let's actually do that. Back to Rosetta. Where was that? In here. So you want to search for the package Breeze icons. Breeze and then grep for icon. It's Breeze minus icons. Okay, how do we install packages? Like this. Select, middle click, paste. Okay, zipper search. Breeze grep by icons. And the name of the package is KF6 Breeze icons. Interesting name. Continue, yes. Okay, there's notifications that the command has completed. There's support while we're running as sudo the header bar changes color. Like this, becomes reddish for a millisecond. Let's start Kate again. Okay, so now it's no longer missing any, where are you? Any icons. So there's icons in the main menu. These are Breeze icons. You can see that the style of the file new icon, which is square, is different from the style of this icon, which comes from Adwaita icon theme, because this is a rounded rectangle. And it's also a 16 pixel icon that has 2 pixel lines, whereas these are 16, in fact 22 pixel icons that are 1 pixel lines. And this gets scaled to 32 pixels, so these are probably 4 pixel lines. You can see it compared to this icon, which actually comes from Breeze. So this comes from Adwaita icon theme, this comes from Breeze icon theme. This is built into the Kate project, that this comes from the Breeze icon theme. Here's the broom icon that was missing, and here are the 1, 2, 3, 4 icons for the tool window buttons. Okay, so for now, when you install KDE applications in GNOME Shell, in openSUSE, Tumbleweed, Arch Linux, Fedora 40 workstation, you should install by hand the binary package for Breeze icons. The name of the package is very different from one Linux distribution to another. It's KF6 Breeze icons in openSUSE Tumbleweed. It's Breeze icons in Arch Linux. And it's, I don't know, Breeze icon theme in Fedora 40 workstation. So this is it. This is side by side the Arch Linux and openSUSE Tumbleweed Linux operating systems. Very similar in the sense that they are rolling release. You have access to similar open source software and with at similar versions. If you're a developer that's developing, I don't know, for the KDE community or for the GNOME, you sometimes need to be on one of these rolling releases such that you can have the latest and greatest releases from the software community that you're programming for and all of the dependencies of the software that you're working on. This is also by using Linux operating systems that are rolling release. You don't need to reinstall each 6 months as I do because I use Kubuntu, or each 2 years if you're using Debian. This is advantageous and not. So with rolling release Linux operating systems, there's a bit of risk. You will need to be able to better support yourself in Linux. Whereas if you install a Linux operating system that doesn't provide the latest and greatest software as it comes available, such as, I know, Ubuntu or Debian or something else, and then you disable automatic updates, then your computer, your operating system will not break at random moments when you want your operating system to be usable more. Thank you.